He stole a 57-ton tank and ran it through a city. This is the story of Shawn Nelson and the day San Diego became a war zone. It's May 17th, 1995, in San Diego, California. The evening sun burns down on streets that are already busy with rush hour traffic. At the California National Guard Armory in Linda Vista, the gate stands open. All seems routine and harmless. But then, a man in a van pulls in. Nobody stops him. Nobody asks questions. He doesn't belong there, but he knows exactly what he's about to do. His name is Shawn Timothy Nelson, 35 years of age, currently a plumber, former Army veteran, and a man whose life has been unraveling for years. His marriage fell apart. His small plumbing business collapsed with tools stolen and utilities cut. A motorcycle crash left his back broken and his spirit bitter. He dug a pit in his backyard, convinced he'd find gold. Neighbors watched him mow his lawn at midnight. Police visits, hospital lawsuits, eviction threats, his whole existence sinking into debt and despair. But Nelson also had a past that mattered that night. He trained at Fort Knox, served in the army in Germany. He knew tanks, knew their controls, their weight, their limits. For him, these steel beasts parked in the armory were not mysteries, but old acquaintances. That evening, Nelson breaks the locks on 3 hulking M60A3 Patton tanks. He climbs inside one and throws the switches. The diesel coughs, then roars. Treads clank. The fence doesn't slow him down. And just like that, a city becomes a battlefield. The M60 is a Cold War brute. 57 tons, 105mm main gun, and armor thick enough to shrug off rifles and handguns like mosquitoes. Tonight, the weapons aren't loaded, a fact that will save countless lives. But the tank itself is a weapon. Mass, speed, and steel. Nelson rolls into the neighborhood. At first, people stare confused. Maybe it's a parade, maybe it's training. Then they see what he does next. The destruction begins small. A traffic light folds like paper. A hydrant explodes, sending a geyser high into the sky. A line of parked cars disappears beneath the treads, crushed flat into the asphalt. Utility poles snap, entire blocks go dark. Police scramble, squad cars chase, red and blue lights bouncing off the tank's green hull. But it's pointless. Pistols do nothing. Shotguns, nothing. The police helicopter circles overhead, spotlight catching the monster as it carves through San Diego's grid. The pilot's voice, strained but steady, rolling the videotape. The tank is fully equipped. We don't know if it's loaded. That's the question tearing through every command post. Is the main gun live?
Have somebody get a hold of the armory and find out if this thing is loaded, if he can actually do any damage with it other than killing people by running them over.
If it is, downtown could become a war zone in seconds. Nobody knows at the time, and nobody can risk making assumptions. On the ground, options vanish. Spike strips won't work. Barricades mean nothing.
Do you see any way that we can stop this thing?
Well, no, I don't, to be honest with you.
Everywhere Nelson goes, he aims for structure. Sign, poles, fences, parked vehicles. He doesn't chase people, but he doesn't care if they're near either. Civilians scatter from sidewalks, parents dragging kids, drivers abandoning cars. At one point, officials even consider the unthinkable, calling the Marines for helicopters. But missiles flying in a city with a population of 1 million? That's too risky. There has to be another way. The Rampage stretches across Kearney Mesa onto surface sheets and into commercial zones. Nelson plows through an RV, smashes through fences, carves a scar through asphalt. Reporters tally the damage later. More than 30 vehicles destroyed, power cut to nearly 5,000 homes, whole intersections reduced to wreckage. From the air, it looks surreal. A Cold War tank crawling past shopping plazas and taco shops. For 23 minutes, San Diego is a live-action war movie with no script, no stunt doubles, and no way to know how it ends. Nelson turns the tank towards the freeway, California State Route 163, a ribbon of traffic that cuts through the heart of the city. Families heading home, commuters already late. The tank climbs the on-ramp, roars into the pavement, and traffic scatters in every direction. Nelson heads for the center divide, tries to cross into oncoming lanes. It's a brutal move, 57 tons grinding up a concrete barrier 3 feet tall. For a moment, it looks like he'll make it. Then physics wins. The tank tilts, track slipping, and comes to a dead stop. Stuck on the median, half on the side, half on the other. For the first time that night, the city has an opening. Police swarm. Officers clamber onto the hull, boots sliding on dust and paint. Below them, the freeway is frozen. Drivers watching from cars, cameras rolling, kids pressed against the windows. The hatch is locked. Bolt cutters slice. A circle of steel becomes an open wound. Inside, Nelson keeps fighting. He jerks the controls, revs the engine, rocking the machine in a desperate attempt to break free. If it slips, it could plunge into live traffic. The officers don't have time. They make the call. Shots echo, swallowed by the roar of diesel. The engine coughs, then dies. The rampage ends. When the hatch opens, Nelson is mortally wounded. Incredibly, no one else, not a single driver, not a single officer, not a single bystander is killed. The only casualty of the San Diego Tank Rampage is the man who started it. By morning, the city looks like a battlefield. Hydrants still gushing, asphalt scarred, poles snapped in two, dozens of vehicles flattened into scrap. The bill climbs into the millions. The district attorney rules the shooting justified. If Nelson had broken free, lives would have been lost. Critics argue about tear gas, negotiation, less lethal weapons. Supporters say you don't gamble with 57 tons of steel. The National Guard takes the heat as well. Why were their tanks parked behind a chain link fence with no guards on duty? Within days, batteries are removed from dozens of armored vehicles. By the following year, California's tanks are moved to secure places far from city streets and curious trespassers. As for Nelson, the story resists neat answers. Autopsy reports show alcohol in his blood. Friends recall depression, drug use, years of decline. Neighbors remember his odd habits and his bitterness. Everyone agrees on one thing. This wasn't political, it wasn't ideological, just one man's collapse, made catastrophic by the machine he chose. For those who lived through it, the memories are vivid. Families watching from overpasses, TV screens lighting up with live helicopter footage, the surreal sight of a tank chewing through their city. One resident later said, "It felt like the war had come to San Diego." The image of the tank stuck on the freeway median, helpless at last, is burned into the city's collective memory. What stops a tank in a city? Not bullets, not roadblocks, not squad cars. In San Diego, it was physics. Concrete, traction, and gravity. For 23 minutes in 1995, everyday life collided with Cold War steel. It wasn't a battlefield overseas, it wasn't a training exercise, it was a plumber from down the street, cocooned in armor, making his private war a public nightmare. It was an event so bizarre that years later, it's spoken of in the same breath as other strange rampages, like the Killdozer in Colorado. Proof that sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't a foreign enemy, it's one of your own, climbing into a machine that was never meant for civilian streets. This was The Great Rewind. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more stories like this one, check out the next video.